Ever wondered why fear has such a grip on us? Why does it make our hearts race and our palms sweat? Well, to understand this, we need to back into the early days of our ancestors. Picture a world where danger lurked around every corner, where survival relied on quick decision-making and swift action. In this world, fear was not our enemy, but our ally. It was an evolutionary tool, a survival mechanism that kept our forebears alive. Fear, you see, evolved to alert us to potential threats. It triggers our body's fight or flight response, priming us for action. Imagine an early human out foraging. The rustle of a bush, the snap of a twig, these sounds would trigger a surge of adrenaline, quickening the heart rate, sharpening the senses, readying the body to either stand and fight or run for safety. That's fear at work. It's not just an emotion, but a biological response designed to keep us safe. Even today, our fears may be less about predators in the wild and more about public speaking or heights, but the response is the same. It's that same survival mechanism honed over millions of years kicking into gear. So, fear is not just an emotion, it's a complex survival system developed through millions of years of evolution. Now think of pressing that like button and subscribe as your fight or flight response to the YouTube algorithm. It helps to alert the algorithm to potential viewers like you who appreciate content like this. It's not just a simple click, but a survival mechanism designed to keep our alive. So don't just stand there, take action. Like, subscribe, and let's continue surviving and thriving on this evolutionary journey together. Now that we've understood why fear exists, let's delve into the mind to comprehend the psychology of fear. Fear is, in essence, a reaction to perceived threats. It's a primal response wired into our brains, a protective mechanism that alerts us to danger and prepares us for fight or flight. But fear isn't just about immediate physical threats. It's also about anticipation, about the potential for harm, loss, or pain in the future. This anticipatory fear can be conditioned through our experiences. For instance, if you've once burned your hand on a hot stove, the memory of that pain might make you fearful the next time you're near a stove. You've learned to associate the stove with the potential for pain. Fear can also be learned through observation. If we see someone else experience harm or distress, our brains can learn to fear the same situations. It's a process of empathy, but also of self-preservation. But what happens when fear becomes disproportionate to the threat? When it's not a burning stove or a snarling dog, but perhaps a harmless spider or the thought of speaking in public. This is where fear can morph into anxiety disorders. The fear response is triggered too easily and too intensely, causing significant distress and disruption in a person's life. Understanding the psychology of fear can help us recognize when our fears are rational and when they are not. Understanding our fears is the first step towards managing them effectively. Let's take a moment to explore some common fears. Ever felt your heart pounding at the sight of a spider, or when you're up high? Quite a few of us can relate to these feelings, right? Arachnophobia, or the fear of spiders, and acrophobia, the fear of heights, are two of the most prevalent fears worldwide. And these fears are not just whims or quirks, they have deep roots in our evolutionary past. Our ancestors, living in a world full of predators and dangerous landscapes, developed these fears as survival mechanisms. The sight of a spider could indicate a poisonous threat, and a fear of heights prevented early humans from venturing too close to cliff edges. The prevalence of these fears today is a testament to their roots in our survival history. So, if you're afraid of spiders or heights, remember, you're not alone. Recognizing the universality of these fears can help us feel less alone in our fears and more equipped to face them. Are you ready to face your fears? Here are some strategies that can help. First, acknowledge what scares you. It's okay to be afraid. Fear is natural, and it's part of being human. But remember, fear doesn't define you. You have the power to overcome it. Second, consider exposure therapy. It's about gradually and repeatedly facing your fears until they become less intimidating. It's like learning to swim. At first, you might fear the water, but with practice, you become more comfortable. Next, there's cognitive behavioral therapy, a tactic where you challenge and change your thoughts about your fears. It's about replacing negative thoughts with positive ones, like turning "I can't do this" into "I can handle this." If your fears feel overwhelming, don't hesitate to seek professional help. Therapists and counselors are there to guide you. Remember, facing fear is a journey, not a destination. It's about progress, not perfection. Understanding fear can be empowering. It gives us the tools to take control of our responses. When we delve into the intricate psychology of fear, we arm ourselves with knowledge. This knowledge can be our shield, our armor against the dread that fear instills in us. When we understand that our fears stem from evolutionary survival mechanisms, from psychological triggers, we can begin to see them not as terrifying unknowns, but as reactions that can be managed and even controlled. Education is power. The more we learn about our fears, the less power they hold over us. We can use this understanding to change our responses, to challenge our fears, to face them head on. And remember, we don't have to do this alone. There are professionals, psychologists, therapists who can help guide us on this journey. With understanding and courage, fear can become less of a monster hiding in the shadows and more of a challenge to overcome. We've taken a deep dive into the world of fear, understanding its roots and learning how to face it. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered. Fear is a natural response, deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. It has served a critical role in our survival, alerting us to danger and preparing us for action. But in our modern world, sometimes these fears can become overwhelming, hindering instead of helping. Understanding our fears, their origins and triggers can help us face them, reducing their power over us. With courage and the right tools, we can navigate our fears, live more freely, and turn them into challenges to overcome. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the psychology of fear. If you found this exploration insightful, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more deep dives into the human psyche. And as we close this chapter, remember, fear is just a challenge waiting to be overcome. You are stronger than your fears. You're not alone in this fight, and with understanding and courage, you can take back control. Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and keep learning.